Hey people, welcome to the Photo Mama podcast. Conversations on all things motherhood, photography and life. I'm Ikoja Mercy Haruna, but you can call me Mercy. I'm a photographer and a mom of two beautiful babies.
And I'm Elsie Kifuengare. I'm also a photographer and a mom of two.
In today's episode, we will be talking about mental health, as the whole of the month of May is Mental Health Month, with the Awareness Week running from the 15th to the 21st of May. The official theme for this year, as set by the Mental Health Foundation, is anxiety. According to the NHS website, anxiety is a feeling of unease, such as worry or fear, that can be mild or severe. Everyone has feelings of anxiety at some point in their life. For example, you may feel worried and anxious about editing photos and sending them to a client on time, or having to respond to an email for a portfolio review, or in my case, chasing invoices and payment. I just find that so anxiety inducing. What about you, Elsie? Do you experience anxiety?
Yeah, of course. As in, come on, man, even talking about this topic is like
Triggering you.
Yeah. Yeah, in some sort of way, like honestly, as we record this, literally last night, I was in the middle of sending a quote. I was scrabbling my phone, I was looking for who to call, because sending quotes gives me some type of feeling like, am I giving the right amount? Am I overcharging? Am I undercharging? I'm literally overthinking it, and I'm like... But I called a friend, and luckily, I'm going to mention her here. Beatrice, thank you so much. Man, you helped me. At least it reduced that stress of what to price for this job, So I called her up and we had a chat, and she was giving me pointers and everything. And you know what? We need people like that, like we can reach out to at the other end of the phone, or in my case, because you are my accountability partner as well. We always check on each other. So it does help, and it really helped. So by the time I put down that phone, I had like my feelings of being anxious about sending this quote were resolved somewhat. They were still there, but you know what I said, it is what it is.
It took the edge off.
Yeah, I drafted that email, and it's gone to the client. So yeah, I do get it. What about you?
In daily life, obviously, there's different levels of anxiety. There's what might seem trivial to some people, but that can just be really, really stressful. I mean, I almost messaged you to say, can we record this another time? But I had to. The reason why I didn't was because I had to think about how busy I am in life, and what not recording today would mean, what knock-on effect it would have later on, and how that would cause me even more anxiety. So I just kind of had to pull myself together and be like, okay, let's just record this. But I'm not in the best frame of mind generally. Like, there's just so much going on in not just with work, but like personal life, and there's just little triggers everywhere. And for me, the worst thing is not being able to have a solution to issues. I really hate that. I'm solution oriented in the sense that if there's a problem in front of me, I want to be able to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps are what I'm going to take to solve this. It helps me sort of like, if I can work through my issues. But if there's like no light at the end of the tunnel, that just makes me spiral. And my response generally to things like that is just to freeze. Well, either I'm overthinking or I freeze. There's no in between. I have like analysis paralysis, as it's called, and I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. And when things just seem to be hitting you from left, right and center.
And also, we are coming at the end of spring break. So kids go back to school. As we are recording this, it was spring break, and kids are going back to school the following day. We're doing this on a Sunday morning first thing, because we know once the schedules of school runs and
work
get it, because we both now work.
It's about to be
once
mad.
all those schedules come together, we're like,
yeah, that's what I meant.
And I'm glad.
That's what I meant by I thought about, I had to do a big picture review really quickly and be like, okay, if we don't record today, what happens next week and the week after, and how would that make me feel? That would just increase my anxiety. So I had to just kind of like, it's a bit like shifting this to the back burner, whatever I'm feeling, and just kind of putting this at the forefront. But also, I have to say, the podcast is an outlet for me. It helps me momentarily, forget about my worries and focus on, I mean, obviously, not so much now since we have to talk about this issue, talk about anxiety, but normally this is an outlet, and I love talking to you and recording and knowing that our listeners are going to be be listening to this in a bit, and I love having these conversations. It's a great outlet.
I know. Even like I was gonna ask, when I used to do Twitter Spaces, I used to have this thing of like checking in first before we have conversations, like asking people, like the audience or the people who are allowed, invited to speak, like how are they feeling today? Like, should I ask, how are you feeling today?
Oh man, Elsie.
I think you've just spoken about it briefly.
Elsie,
but,
I mean, without going into too many details, there's just a lot. I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders at the moment, and that's my own, like in my own nuclear family, but also like extended family issues going on, and like I mentioned, not being able to sort of being far away from family and not being able to offer solutions, and just kind of being heaped with issues, back to back, but not being able to do anything about them is really getting to me, and I'm really trying to keep it together, but it's really hard, and especially because I still have to then be a mom, and I still have to be, present in my work and everything else. So with all of that combined, I just feel like my head, I barely slept last night. I think I went to bed about before midnight, but I woke up at 2 a.m. and drifted again. I was just in and out. I was imagining sounds that weren't there. It's just nuts, But yeah, yep, it's a lot. A lot, and I'm sure a lot of people will relate. I mean, how are you feeling? How's it going?
To be honest, surprisingly, even I can't speak. I would say good.
Oh, that's good.
I wouldn't say extra. Yeah, I would say good, because I've come to this realization. Sometimes, if you can't control it, it's out of your it's out of your hands. There's nothing you can do about it. So I just take each day as it comes. And it's taken me a long time to kind of figure that out. I'm still figuring it out. So if I find myself, I don't feel like doing anything, I will do it. Honestly.
You watch K-drama.
And trust me, we're gonna talk about that in this podcast, because no, but yesterday I didn't watch. I tried watching it, but I think I was so tired throughout the day, because we had a meeting beforehand and all of that stuff. And this weekend, as I said, like we're on spring break, it was preparing the kids for school, and my preparing the kids for school is doing their hair. So my whole day was that, like getting them ready, taking them to the hairdressers, bringing them back home, and all of that, and then sitting down at my desk to do some admin work before the week starts, because once they're in school, I'm trying to do my own personal stuff, my own personal projects, trying to plan ahead for the spring and the summer that's coming, trying to look for leads to get some more work, and also still go to work, juggling all of these things. So that's what I'm saying. I'm surprisingly
chill,
finding myself like in a chill place.
I need some of that.
So to speak.
I need some of that. I do try as much as possible to. What's that thing? Compartmentalizing, and try not to let things overwhelm me. But sometimes things are just right in your face, and there is no kind of like running away from them. Yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail, but yeah, some things are just. It is what it is, though, right? So yeah. We just try to take it one day at a time. Obviously, with anxiety, there's different levels to it. And when it gets to the point where it's affecting your sleep, your eating, you're just, you're not able to perform daily tasks, I guess that's when you go to the doctor, the GP, and take it further, get medication or whatever. But I feel like there's this point where you have a lot going on, but you don't feel like you're unwell enough to go to the GP to get medication. Do you know what I mean? Like, I genuinely feel like I'm overburdened, but it's not to the level where I can go to the GP and get any help yet. So like, how do you navigate that? How do you get through that? I wonder what coping mechanisms you use when you feel so burdened, to the point where obviously you can't really ask for help, but it's more like managing, your life as it is. So what do you do? What are your coping mechanisms, Elsie?
Honestly, shut down.
System
shut down.
Complete. I get it. I do.
And because honestly, you know the whole thing. Even when you're talking to your children and you tell them, when you get so angry, you're like, just walk out of the room. My coping mechanism is literally walking
Running
out
away?
of the room. Or yeah, I don't want to say running away, but that's how it sounds like. But it's literally walking out of the room so I can reset. And or in my case, I created my office space is me literally walking out of one
Into
room
another.
into another to reset. Even if I'm sitting here and I'm doing nothing and just scrolling like my Instagram or trying to fix my website, even if I'm just going through the tabs, just clicking through the tabs of my website, even though it doesn't look I'm productive, but in a way it's like that whole mindless task, those mindless tasks are my way of coping in a weird sense. It might not make sense to anyone else, but to me it kind of makes sense. But if anything, like if it's like a daily occurrence, like every day, I learned to have one task that I do every day without fail, whether I'm in a good mood, bad mood, whatever, just one task. And I know as long as I've done that one task, I'm good. And that one task for me is making my bed.
Oh.
Every morning without fail. Even if I like, sometimes, you know, you wake up and you're like rushing to the loo because you're so pressed, I will still come back upstairs and make my bed.
What does that do for you?
I don't know. And I got this thing from listening to, oh my God, her name escapes me. When I remember the name, I'll put it here. But yeah, one of these self-help gurus. And I say that word very, very lightly. I was listening to her book, and that's how she started with making her bed, because she was going through a phase of depression and all this. And I think when I'm explaining this, I think people know who I'm talking about. But yeah, that's the one thing she said every day without fail, make her bed. It started like that. In the morning, wake up, make your bed. And then the next step was every morning, have breakfast. You know, I'm just adding my own thing here. But yeah, making the bed was the one thing I religiously do every day. And I'm trying to instill that to my kids as well. Like, when you wake up in the morning, please make your bed. I don't know what it does to you, but it makes you feel like you've done something for that day.
Okay.
Right. Even if you don't do anything else, you've done something for that day. But it also propels you to do other stuff. Like, okay, I've made my bed, I've done that one thing. What else can I do today to fulfill that another task? You know,
is this like for situations where you feel like you're frozen, like you're stuck and you can't come out of, you know, is that what it helps with?
Yeah.
But what about situations where you actually you're overwhelmed with tasks? What's the reality there? Like, you're overwhelmed with tasks, and that's something that I've found lately. It's just that I have so many things to do, and when I have so many things to do, I freeze, right? But recently I discovered Notion. We discovered Notion, and I feel like writing down, I was doing this pen to paper anyway, but there's just something satisfying about having my tasks written down and being able to sort of click through them. But remembering that even if I'm not able to finish every task on my list, that's fine. Just being able to click that I've done one or two is very satisfying for me. So that's something that I use to cope. Yeah.
and that's what it is. Just having like a task list. Oh my God, I can't speak today. What's going on?
It's Sunday
Having
morning.
a task list. For some people that works. If you are a list person, make a list, go through them, you know, and do it. Many people have different ways of coping, to be honest. Like, for me, the bad thing is
That's cool. I'm gonna try
for
that.
you, making a list might be your coping mechanism. For other people, even when they make the lists, they make them like either the biggest tasks first, and then the least tasks, or the opposite. They do the least ones, and then
I go
the
from
biggest
small
ones. But it
to
also
big.
depends. Yeah, but it also depends on what they are as well. You have to be very
And the day
conscious
as
of
well,
that.
because every day is going to be different.
Yeah, because you might be doing the small things to avoid the big ones, or the big ones to avoid the small ones.
You just picked up on something that I do. Wait, let's not get into procrastination, because that's my middle name. Yeah, sometimes I do small things to avoid getting to the big things, but it's because, you know, those big things they're so intense on the mind, aren't they? So whatever I can do to escape them in the moment, I'm gonna do that, you know.
Yeah, but even if they're the big things that you can chop them up, like let's say like a photo project. Yeah, you don't do a project in one go. You don't do a photo project in one go. Even assignments, when you're given assignment, it wasn't planned like today.
Right.
You know, it was some forethought went into doing that. The same with a photo project. You have the idea, you write it down today. Tomorrow, you're like, okay, let me research on this idea. The following day, let me do some experimenting. The following day, and I don't mean like following day,
Literally,
like today,
yeah.
tomorrow, It might be a week, it might be a month, because you want to sit on this idea. And this is how things get done.
Step by step.
Yeah, just do them step by step. Do them slowly. If you're feeling like today you're not, it's not working and you're feeling overwhelmed, let it go. Just leave it. Because we have to remember, like, when we overthink things, they never get done. And then procrastination starts kicking in.
And
You're
avoidance. And as I said, analysis
Yes.
paralysis. You analyze to the point where you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to not do anything. And then years later, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, shoot, I never did that, did I? At least that's how I find.
Yeah. And man, yeah, anxiety is a real thing, and it's those coping mechanisms do really help. But you have to find your middle ground, and you also have to find your happy place.
Happy place. Can I mention that during the pandemic, during lockdown, I know that lockdown was such a tough time for a lot of people, obviously COVID and, you know, people dying and all sorts of things. But in terms of like my life, personal life here with my family, lockdown was such a good time for us. Lockdown was such a good time for me. I was really healthy. I was running not every day, but I was running every other day. I remember doing couch to 5K, getting out there, running, feeling very good. I picked up my camera a lot more. I was out doing photo walks. I think because there wasn't all the weight of everything else on me. There was no there was no, what's the word I'm looking for? There was no pressure to be out working, doing talking to people, interacting with the world. I felt a bit free to then just, you know, do the things that I actually enjoyed, which was running at the time. Don't tell me to run couch to 5K now. My knees can't take that. But, you know, this 2020, I remember I was my healthiest. I was going out with my camera, taking pictures, and it was springtime. I remember it was around this time, 2020, going to the fields, taking pictures of the flowers blooming. And the other day I was looking back at those images and I was like, oh my God, this was a happy time. Can I recreate that?
I'm sure you can, but why not? As in, take some of those. Obviously, not the running because you don't
my
wanna
knees
do that,
up.
but why not? Why not the other stuff?
The photo
you know?
walking.
And I think just for yourself. Like if you feel like, today I'm like feeling some type of way, grab your camera, just even if it's 5 minutes, even if you leave the door and you're like, I'm not feeling this and come back, it's fine. Yeah, just take those steps. And I've just remembered what I was talking about earlier, like the making bed thing. It was Mel Robbins. I was listening to her book, The 5-Second Rule, which I would honestly highly recommend. But I listened to it. I wasn't reading it. That's another
No time
thing.
to read, girl.
Sitting down to read a book nowadays. No.
You've just reminded me of something. When I was in high school, I loved reading. I even went and volunteered as an assistant at the library because you get access to more books. And my head was always in a book. I loved reading, was my escape. Now I can't read a book. Do you find that since you became a mom, you can't read a book?
Do you know how many books
too.
are on my shelf that I've read? And I'm trying to say, I'm going to revisit those. The other day I took my kids to the bookshop to buy them books. And then I said, let me just buy myself one.
It's there.
It's on my
It's
nightstand.
there.
I have
I
not
know.
even opened the first page to read that book. And I'm like, I need to read it. Even when I'm going to bed, just one page. Just one. I think I should listen to my own advice.
And I just,
Like making the bed, I should translate it to the book,
You know,
just one page. And then
I'll
I'll be finished, even if it takes me the
I even
whole
thought that
year.
it was an issue with like, you know, having like a book. Because obviously when you have a book at night, you have to have the lights, but all of that. So I went and got a Kindle. I got a Kindle, and when the novelty wore off, boy, the Kindle hasn't been charged in a year, it's sitting here. But audiobooks, I can listen to books.
Audiobooks.
I'm good with that. The same way I listen to podcasts and music and stuff. If I just put an audiobook on, put it in 1.5 speed.
Yeah,
you can't.
I can't
You said
do
you
that.
can't. Yeah.
No, I can't do that speed.
No.
I tried.
For me, that's when it really
doesn't
enters
work for me.
my mind. Because if it's too slow, my mind drifts.
Yeah.
If it's too fast, I don't understand. So that I think it's 1.25 or 1.5 is just fast enough for me to absorb without getting my mind wandering. But yeah, audiobooks, man.
But it's really interesting when you're saying about mind wandering. Is it a creative thing? Because I found myself doing that, and I'm like, when I'm listening to like audiobooks, especially if it's I don't know any. My mind wanders to like,
Oh, yeah.
I could do a photo project on that. It's like my ideas are starting, and then I'm like, crap, I don't have my notebook to write it down. I forgot it at home, and then by the time you remember, and then I think I should consciously
Yeah.
carry a notebook. So when I'm listening or walking around, and this is how
Yes.
ideas come about for photo projects, because you're always listening to audiobooks when you're walking around like London or whatever. And yeah,
I always have a notebook, but bringing it out and actually writing in it is another story. But yeah, before we
Yeah.
digress too far,
I have a particular notebook. Yeah. No, I was saying I always have a notebook for my ideas, my project ideas. It's the thing is I don't carry it around because I don't want to
Right.
lose it.
I have different
So just leave
notebooks.
it
I have
at
like a really
home.
small one that is in my issue is because I change my bags. So I have to remember to take it out. So now I went out to Ryman's, I think, and just got one of those like 3-in-1 packs, and I just have different notebooks in different bags. But sometimes I'm so like in the moment that I forget about taking out my notebook to do anything anyway, because again, and I think this is why I can't read, is because my mind is always wandering off to some other planet. I don't know if it's a creative thing or maybe it's an ADHD thing, because I've also been thinking about that lately. Like, is that something I actually have and I just never realized?
Yeah.
But yeah, we should bring it back to the topic of conversation, right?
There are a few exhibitions happening in London in the month of May, and I would like to share those with you in case you want to visit any of them. The first one will be Photo London, which will be happening at Somerset House, and this will be from the 11th of May to the 14th of May. It's worth checking out, but you have to keep in mind tickets are quite expensive. But yeah, I would recommend it if you're looking for ideas and you're stuck for ideas. Photo London is one to visit. The other one is the Deutsche Börse Photography Foundation Prize 2023, which is at the Photographers Gallery. And this has already started and it's on until the 11th of June. Also another exhibition worth checking out. The next exhibition is the Isaac Julian What Freedom Is to Me, which will be at the Tate Modern, and it kicks off on the 26th of April and it ends on 20th of August 2023. So you have plenty of time to visit these exhibitions because it will be happening all over the summer period. So worth checking out. As always, I need to remind you all of these events and exhibitions are ticketed and prices are on their website. So if you have time and you're in London, worth checking out.
If we wanted to talk about mental health, anxiety, and bring it back to like motherhood, and all the craziness that comes with the journey, would you say there's been any point in your motherhood journey specifically that has felt like so overwhelming? Think about pregnancy, postpartum, and all of that. Is there any point where you felt so overwhelmed, and how did you work through it?
Yeah, when I had my first baby, oh yeah, it took me, I think, better part of 6-7 years to realize that I did go through postpartum depression. Imagine. As in when he was really certainly the first year of me having given birth to him. And yeah, when you it's really weird. I personally think we come from a culture where like mental health is not something that is like discussed or encouraged, or I don't use the word encouraged because it sounds so wrong here, but yeah, but it
You just don't talk about it. It's taboo, isn't it?
Yeah, but the realization that actually I did go through this thing this was not baby blues that they call. Baby blues ends in weeks or whatever. It was long. It was kind of long term. And I did talk about it in depth because I have a YouTube channel and I really talked about it there because I made it one of my ways of talking through things, like creating photo stories. I think I should get back to that actually. But anyway, I digress. I digress. But yeah, I did talk about it in depth there. I don't want to go through it here because I don't want to start crying.
This episode will be an hour or more.
It will be split into two parts because it's too long and I don't.
Yeah.
Did you go through something similar or anything like through your motherhood? Like you would say, yeah, I was going through the motions.
For me, I think mine was more pregnancy time because I had hyperemesis gravidarum, which is severe nausea and vomiting in pregnancy. So, nausea is normal. But the levels that I had, I couldn't eat, couldn't drink. Everything smelled really bad. I lost a lot of weight. I was dehydrated. Like I'd go for a wee and my wee would be like orange,
Wow.
like. And then when I went for a test, they tested my urine and it was just ketones, protein. Because I couldn't drink water. Even water made me vomit. So I found pregnancy really difficult. And I remember very specific moments of feeling like, oh my God, I have a parasite inside of me that feels like it's going to kill me. And if I don't kill it first, then it's going to kill me. Just really, really dark thoughts, At a time when most people associate with being like the happiest time in a woman's life. Oh yeah, you're pregnant, you're glowing, you're beautiful, you're so excited for your baby to join the family, blah, blah, blah. I was not happy. I was really, really ill. Not to the point where I needed to be medicated, but I can tell you that there have been people who needed to be, I mean, medicated for my mental health. I was medicated for my physical health, but I wasn't medicated for my mental health. I think if I hadn't got that treatment to get myself rehydrated and, to help with the vomiting and stuff, I could potentially have fallen into much worse, state of mental health. But because my care was good, I also knew vaguely what I was experiencing because my mom had very severe nausea in pregnancy as well. She wasn't diagnosed with hyperemesis, but I'm pretty sure that she had it because I knew, and because also I'm someone who reads and I'm very I'm always researching. I'm one of those people. I just have information at my fingertips. So I knew what I was going through, so I could tell them, hey, can I have some meds for this? But I never was treated for my mental health. But I can imagine a place where that could have deteriorated to the point where I needed to be treated for my mental health as well. So for me, that's the closest that I would say in terms of my motherhood. I've come to a place, I've gone to the brink of madness, basically. Because then after experiencing that in pregnancy, my delivery and early motherhood then felt like a breeze. Not a breeze, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. After going through all that, and then obviously after having the baby, now I'm able to eat. You would not imagine what it's like to not be able to eat and not be able to drink. Not because you don't want to, but because you just can't. But it's the maddest thing ever. So now coming out of pregnancy and being able to eat, taste food as normal, being able to drink water as normal. I flung myself into motherhood and I absolutely enjoyed that early stage. I don't think I experienced any postpartum depression. I breastfed. I was super chilled those early days. I remember that being a really when I think of it, I remember it fondly rather than like, oh, that was a really hard time. So mine is that way. And everything else just seemed to kind of, every stage of motherhood is a challenge, isn't it? There's a new challenge. But yeah, that's my story. And I can imagine that the listeners right now are thinking, and trying to think of their story. And I would love to, Elsie, we would love to hear some stories relating to how motherhood, the juggle, the struggle. Yeah.
That's true. Do you find that what you went through kind of prompted you to start Offspring?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I do apologize, listeners, if you're hearing sirens. Yeah, that's the area I live in.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Same here.
continue.
It's a full house. I can
Yeah.
I can hear it, but I don't know if the recording is going to pick it up. I can hear them having their breakfast or lunch. I don't know what this
Yeah.
is, brunch downstairs. I can hear cars speeding by, all sorts. But hey, this is real life. We're not in a recording studio.
In my house, somebody is going in and out of the kitchen and banging the door. So yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
apologize profusely.
Exactly. I think that the audio is picking it up, but it might not be. But if it is, we
Yeah.
apologize.
It is what it is. This is our life.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that, record like this, or wait for the perfect studio situation to record, and that's not likely to happen.
It will never happen.
And
anyway,
this
with
podcast will
digression.
never be made. So yeah, bringing it right back
true.
to your question, whether or not my experience helped prompted me to do Offspring Project. Yes, it did. For those who don't know what Offspring Project is, it's a project I've been working on since 2021 now. It's the gist of it is to use this project as a way for Black mothers in the UK to share their stories of transitioning into motherhood, from pregnancy all the way to postpartum and beyond, sharing what that experience was like, the struggle, the good and the bad, because I don't want it to only be about sharing struggle stories, also the positive, the joyous moments, the happy moments, everything. And I started that project. The idea came to me, in one of those moments of me having my baby on my back and doing a chore or doing work, I don't know, but it came to me and I thought, I would really want to record our stories as a way for us to unburden ourselves. Because like you said, Black women specifically, I don't know about other cultures, but because I am a Black woman, I'm going to talk about being a Black woman.
Yeah.
Many of us come from cultures that are very hush hush. You don't talk about, as you said earlier, mental health or anything like that is taboo. You don't talk about those issues. So in some cultures, those issues don't even exist. If you have mental health issues, maybe you're possessed or something. Do you know what I mean? Or there's something going on there, but it's not. They don't see it as putting physical health on the same level as mental health. So we come from many of us come from cultures that are very that don't allow us to express these feelings that we're going through, and so with this project, I wanted to bring that to light. I wanted us to be able to use it as a cathartic outlet, but also to record for posterity so that our kids can read these stories, future generations, the wider world can read the stories and know what our experiences are like. Yeah. Especially when you think about the statistics about Black mothers being 4 to 5 times more likely to die in childbirth. Which when I heard that, my mind still can't process that. That's nuts to me, So when I see
It is so nuts.
It's nuts. Completely, it's bonkers.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of that is the reasons why I thought the Offspring Project is really important. So I need to go back to it. This is one of those things that has taken the back seat for a while, but I would love to go back and finish that project.
Yeah, please do. And if you're listening and you are interested in seeing what the project is about, it's on Mercy's website, so we'll leave a link in the show notes so you can go and check it out. But as you were talking about that, it just reminded me of a phrase. I probably might not be saying it right, but I hope everyone just gets the gist. Like if we are not visible, other people will know that we're here. Like that whole visibility is really, really important. So at least people can look back and say, oh, by the way, this actually does happen within our communities.
Yeah.
And like you said, we are always hush-hush when it comes to certain things. But for whose benefit are we keeping quiet? Yeah. You might be going through something, you're keeping quiet, and it's not helping you, it's not helping you. But if you speak out, somebody may come up with a solution to help you. And within that solution, it might help others.
Exactly.
So, Offspring is a really, really amazing project. So, kudos to you for kickstarting that.
Thank you. And now I need to get on with it because you know how these things go. I never intended it to be like a super long-term project.
Yeah.
It is one of those ones that I see as having a definite end to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, yeah, funds, time, all of that stuff. But, I'll get my stuff together and yeah, please get involved if you're interested. Thank you.
And have you found like any other like resources like kind of have helped you navigate the whole motherhood and kind of having this anxiety around motherhood? Have you found any other resources like you can share? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, there is
I
this.
certainly haven't found.
Yeah, I want to shout out a podcast that I sort of grown in my motherhood with because it's been going for that long. It's called Motherkind by Zoe Blaskey. This is a very good podcast, and on this podcast she has guests on, and a lot of the topics are about mental health and navigating motherhood, gentle parenting, all sorts of topics. And I've really found that podcast to be rich. I think there's something for everyone at different stages in motherhood, in your motherhood journey. So I would highly recommend Motherkind podcast by Zoe Blaskey. Check it out. Yeah, another book that I wanted to recommend, and I think that this book actually came from one episode of Motherkind podcast. It's called The Postnatal Depletion Cure by Dr. Oscar Serelak. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And it talks about like how when mothers go through pregnancy, childbirth, all of that, we end up losing so many nutrients and minerals and, so much in our body that could then lead to things like postpartum depression and so on. And like he makes recommendations about things that we can do to improve better diet and all of that. And I think it's such a good book. It's one of those ones that I never finished, by the way, I have to confess. But the bits that I did read,
Yeah.
the bits that I did read were so rich. And if you find that you can actually get through the entire book, it might be nice to actually go listen to maybe an episode of like the podcast episode that he featured on. He goes into a bit more about the issue, and I think when we may not realize how much the physical and the mental are intertwined. So if something's missing in the physical, it manifests in your mental health, and so if we can then find a way to fix the issue, then we'll feel like whole again. So those are some things that I've come across in my research, because there's just a moment like, just being able, for example, in my culture, I don't know about your culture, Elsie, when a mum has a baby, about 40 days or so, you don't do anything. Your mum, your mother-in-law or your auntie or some elder female in your family comes to stay with you and looks after you, the mum, so that you can be there for your baby. So they feed you. They even help with baby as well. They feed you. And we underestimate that feeding bit. Somebody just being there to be able to feed you, girl. Make the food so you don't have to do anything. You can just sit there, breastfeed your baby. They take the baby, they change the nappy, give the baby a bath and give you the baby back. I think these things are things that we're missing, especially those of us who've, are separated from family because of immigration, migration, whatever. We're missing that. And we try to make up for that, by getting a good support network, but that can be very difficult if you're brand new to the country, or if you have friends but they're spread all over. Like you're here in the UK but you're so far away. It's not like I can just pop over and get a cup of sugar, can I? So
that whole raising your kids with as a village, using a village. It's so far removed here. It kind of works, but at the same time, it's like it feels like you're disturbing people's peace. So you end up being alone. It can be very, very.
And those things I think contribute to poor mental health as well. You feel isolated. You feel like you've got to juggle everything, and then that further leads to you being so used to doing everything yourself that you don't know how to ask for help anymore.
That bit right there.
Sis.
Not knowing when to ask for help. And it really translates to other bits of your life.
It does.
Even when you're a photographer, you're like even me calling my friend ask help for the quote. It took me a cool few minutes to say, should I call them? You're like, but you need the help.
You need the help. You don't know it all. You can't do it all. You're only one person. Oh, man.
Oh, my God. It translates. And
it really does.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know if it's the way we're raised as well. As women, we're taught to be so self-sufficient, and you're the one who carries the weight of the family and everything. Even as I don't know about you, but I'm the first daughter in my family. And,
I am the first daughter of my family.
You're shouldering the burden so much. You get used to doing that, and then asking for help just feels like a sign of weakness, It feels like you're giving up, but we should be okay to ask for help. I know that sometimes it's difficult because I also have this thing where I feel anxious about rejection. So if I feel like I'm going to be rejected, I just don't ask. But what does that lead to? What does that lead to? It leads to never asking for help and being burnt out all the time because of what?
Yeah.
What? Like, so they reject you. So what? You didn't die.
Exactly. Not even the rejection. I think that sometimes it's also the expectation, because that whole firstborn syndrome checks in. You're expected to be the, lead by example type of vibe. I'm like, I almost swore in this thing, but I don't want to ask to be cancelled. So
beep, beep, beep.
And I don't want to start, but oh my God. As in, I sometimes and I shut down.
Yeah.
I literally shut down. There's, at the beginning I said, there's a bit where you shut down. There's a positive shutdown. No, this is the opposite. It's the negative shutdown. Like, you're literally cutting people off.
Right.
Like, I don't want to deal. I do not want
Because
to deal.
it's too much.
And then
it
gets
too
really
much.
Yeah. And then it gets really hard to come back and approach these people, because you're like, now you have these other thoughts, like, will they accept me? That thing you've just said, you're afraid of that rejection again, because you cut me out of your life. Why are you back?
Yeah.
And then people need to understand. People need to understand. We all go through the motions. Oh my God. It's, man, yeah. Levels of anxiety. Really do check in. Levels.
I feel like we could talk about this endlessly, but what we would love to do in the future is to revisit this subject and have a professional come on and speak to us and maybe give us some tips, some tools that we can use to take care of ourselves, both physically and mentally as well. Yeah, hopefully we can do that soon. Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Without any professionals present, what do you do? Like right now, what are you doing, or have you done in the past to help you cope? To say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do this right now, so I stop feeling like this. What do you do?
Sleep. Nap. I love my naps. I'm known for my naps. If I get overwhelmed, I go to bed.
Yeah.
I go to bed.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the times when I've had that 30 minutes to 1 hour nap, I wake up and I'm in a better mindset to tackle whatever issue it is. But yeah, sleeping does so much good for me. I just remembered something actually. In early motherhood, when they say sleep when the baby sleeps, and a lot of moms are triggered by that. I can't sleep when the baby sleeps. The first time I heard it, I didn't see it as a bad thing. I was like, sleep when the baby sleeps. Okay then, let's give it a try. And from then on, I slept when my baby slept. I really did. Not at night, usually during nap time. Nighttime was reserved for catching up on photography stuff, right? But during the day, if we were home, I'd pop them on the boob and I would fall asleep. I would fall asleep with them. And I think I got used to that napping thing. And now, if I feel super overwhelmed, I just go to bed. Go to bed. Oh, and recently, recommended by you, I've started using this app called Insight. It's
Insight Timer, I think.
Insight
Insight
timer.
timer.
Yeah, because I was having trouble
Yes.
with insomnia a while ago, and I said, Elsie, girl, I can't sleep. I'm literally sleeping like
Yeah.
2-3 hours a night. This is crazy. And she was like, oh, there's an app I use called Calm, but that's paid. And I know another one that is free. It's free, yeah. Called Insight Timer. I was like, okay, well, I'll give it a try. So I've been listening to, I put my one AirPod in and I listen to like stories, fairy tales or whatever, read in this really monotonous voice with light music
Calm.
underneath. And before I know it, I drift off. But sometimes I will wake up again,
Yeah.
but then put it back on and then really drift off this time. And that's really helped, actually. I haven't thanked you for that properly, but yeah, thank you for recommending that. And I'm now recommending it to you, listeners.
Yeah.
Insight
we'll
Timer
put it
or
on the show notes.
exactly Insight Timer or any app like that,
Yeah.
where you can
Calm is the other one.
Headspace, yeah.
They're very helpful. Very, very helpful. Yeah. Actually, Insight Timer was recommended to me by a friend in uni because I think I was,
Yeah.
in uni you can get really, really stressed.
Yeah.
And I tried it, and because it was free and everything, they have several things like sleep, music, ambient noise, all this meditation, all this jazz. So and it's free. But also Calm is another popular one. But you get more when you pay for it.
Sure.
You can pay for annual. I don't know. I can't remember how much it is. You can go and check it out. But yeah, those are the 2 or 3 with Headspace as well to check out if you're feeling some type of way.
So yeah, there
And,
are many resources out there, many charities and organizations as well that you can reach out to if you're feeling a type of way and you just need more information. You just need someone to kind of hold your hand and take you through it, or you need to read something that will kind of put your mind at ease. There's the Mental Health Foundation. We'll put all the links in the show note. There's also Mind UK, action.org, which is more to do with children, I think. That might be important for some mums listening. But also, when in doubt, just go onto the NHS Mental Health Services portal and you'll be able to be signposted to other different organizations and resources that will really help. So I will throw the question back to you, Elsie. What are your coping mechanisms? What are your coping strategies?
like you, sleep.
Girl,
Number 1, top of the list.
I love my
Even
sleep.
there's a time I used to go to my friend's house because when you go to people's houses and you're comfortable, you will do anything because the kids, they know each other, they're playing, you don't have to stress about them. So when I used to go to their house, I was comfortable. We've been good friends for a very long time, and I used to just sit on the sofa. They're talking to me 1 minute, they're saying I'm gone. I'm asleep. As in, dead as a doornail. I can't even remember if I was drooling or snoring. I don't know. And they used to complain. They're like, Elsie, every time you're like a cat. You're always sleeping. And I'm like, dude, if I am going to take this opportunity to reset, I will reset. And I felt nothing. I used to just sit there. Even when they had guests.
No guilt.
I was sleeping because these are guests that people we know. We're in the same circles of friends and everything. I used to sleep. We're watching something, I'm gone.
This just reminded me, we did that.
You put-
We did that last year where I came to the house and the kids were playing together. I know that they will be sorted for food. And I went upstairs and I slept the sleep of life.
I actually even chased you. I told you, go and sleep. What are you doing here? Go sleep.
Oh my God. We
Take
underestimate
this
sleep,
opportunity to rest. Yeah, that's one. That's one. Sleep is my go-to place. But the other, and I call it my happy place. If you follow me on social media and I'm sharing, I will hashtag happy place K-drama. There's nothing like K-drama to ease my mind. Even my kids know. When mommy puts a K-drama,
You better move.
in her world. What? And you know what? And it actually made sense in the how am I trying to put it? It made sense in the way it calms me down. I don't know what it is about K-drama and the way they do their shows. They're really good at storytelling. And I
Right.
find myself picking up ideas for projects because I'm always looking. Sometimes even when I'm watching, I'm not even following the story. I'm like, oh God, that lighting looks really good. And then
That's
I'm
great.
like, oh, the framing. It reached a point during the pandemic when I started watching K-drama, I was doing screenshots of scenes. Because of the way they framed the actors and actresses in scenes, and I'm like, oh, that really looks cool. It looks like a photograph. It's the thought
Can't
that
turn
goes
off your
behind the
creative
scenes.
mind, can you?
You cannot.
Your photo mama
And I'm-
mind.
No. And then recently on social media, I found this account by a lady who's a mental health therapist. And she uses K-drama as ways to help her clients.
Interesting.
And she's called Nunanuchi. Yeah, she's called Nunanuchi on Instagram. You should go and check it out.
Okay,
And
we'll
she
share in
really
the show
explains-
notes, yeah?
Yeah. And she really explains what the shows are talking about in that particular, like bullying, depression, you know, all of these things, patriarchy and all this, and how she uses those K-drama topics to help her and her clients, for her to help her clients, you know, when they're talking about their issues. I really found that really interesting. And it kind of cemented my whole vibe of watching K-drama all the time. Like, you know what? If somebody can use it for therapy,
I'm not won over yet.
well, yeah, I'm hooked. I'm literally hooked.
Yeah.
Like, ask me any other show outside of K-drama world, what I've watched lately. I
Doesn't
can't
exist.
think of anything. No. Honestly, I'm really stuck in that world. And to be honest, I don't mind. I'm happy. I mean, that is my happy place.
Your real
So
happy
sleep-
place. So I love it.
My real happy.
I
You can
love
even
it.
tell in my voice.
Yes, you've lit up. I wish they could see
I'm
your
lit up.
face. I wish they could see you're smiling ear to ear.
Hey, K-drama is honestly, it is my
I'm
happy
sure
place.
you're
Yeah.
not the only one. I'm sure someone listening is like, yeah, that's my girl. I watch K-drama
know?
as well.
Even Beatrice, who I mentioned at the beginning of this, she's the
Yeah.
one who even
Got you into it.
pulled me in. A friend introduced me, but Beatrice pulled me in. And then I have another friend, we always chat. Our chats on Telegram are always like, what have you watched? Have you watched this? And then we're giving ratings. Ah, man. Yeah.
I have FOMO. I'm experiencing FOMO, fear of missing out. So maybe I'm gonna try one or two and see if I can. My issue is the whole
Warning.
like subtitle
Yeah.
and like not being able to understand. But you know, if I can push past that, then maybe you'll have another K-drama fan.
Warning. Once you're in, I think I should just give people warnings at this point, because once you're in, hey,
There's no
I'm
way
trying
out.
to get out. Anyway. You know what? This is a good place to end on.
Yeah.
You know, high note, happy, everything.
Yes, I agree. It's been a roller coaster of an episode. I believe we've shared all sorts of experiences and resources and so much, and we hope that you're taking away something from this, and we hope that however you're feeling right now, if that's low, that you find some relief from however you're feeling. And we hope that everything that we've shared, you'll be able to pick one or two things to help you through it. And if you're feeling happy, keep feeling happy. Keep feeling good.
Share the joy.
Share the joy. Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you all so much for listening.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. And please, if you can, get an accountability partner. Somebody
Absolutely.
you can always reach out to talk to. You don't have to go into details with them. Just, it really, really does help. I really, really appreciate having Mercy as my accountability partner. And now, look, we're doing a podcast together.
Yeah.
But as always, thank you so much for
Thank you
listening.
all.
And we'll end it there.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Not bye. Not bye.
So, if you're interested in joining the conversations, we have a Google form you can fill out in our show notes. If where you're listening to this podcast does not support show notes, you can find the form on our website, www.photomamapodcast.com.
And if you have any questions, you can email us at photomamapodcast@gmail.com. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at photomamapod.
See you on the next episode. Bye!
See you on the next episode. Bye!